Hey, come here. You like pro wrestling? We got a little something for you. Two fans, 3,000 miles away. We each been watching for more than 30 years. Celebrating the art form, the action, the homoeroticism. We ain't rating matches. We ain't analyzing stories. We ain't experts. We just sit down, shut up, and mark out! Hello, everybody. My name is Blake Goddamn Daily, and you are listening to Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out, a pro wrestling podcast about pro wrestling, and not just about pro wrestling, but about our passion and love for pro wrestling, which seems to be a novel concept in today's world. And I am joined once again by the best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be, Joshi G, the greatest Canadian pro wrestling podcaster in the history of Canadian pro wrestling podcasts. Joshi, hello.
Hey, it's Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
It's Friday. It's Saturday to the people who are listening to this. So we are speaking to you from the past about the future. But we're happy to be here with you guys. Happy as always. Joshi, what have you been up to this week?
Started doing some Christmas shopping.
Yeah, me too. I do not enjoy Christmas shopping.
Me neither. I like Christmas, but not the shopping part.
Yeah, it's like, it's not that I dislike buying people presents. It's just either you're ordering stuff and you get like I don't think about Christmas like in September the way some people do.
Right.
Like I just don't do that. Like,
yeah.
It becomes December and I start thinking about it. And then around this moment, as we tape this, it's December 13th. I really start thinking about it. And I coincidentally also just got paid today. So your boy Blade Daily will be out amongst the great unwashed masses buying Christmas presents. So there's that. There's that. I have been absolutely hooked in like a morphine drip to my PS5 playing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Nice.
Oh,
you liking it?
I thought I loved Red Dead Redemption 1, Joshi, and then I turned this on and I was like, ah! It takes like 4 hours just to even get all the information about how to play the game.
Yeah. It's so epic. Oh my God.
Jesus Christ. It is so good.
I agree.
Oh, and then I just like seriously, like wide-eyed, like slack-jawed, like just zombie and playing this game. And hours go by, and I'm like, "What? Who am I? What just happened?" Like, it's weird. It's like being in a weird trance. I think it's a good thing. Is it?
Well, at least it's distracting you from negative bullshit, right?
Yes. Well, until now, and that's how we're going to begin this show, friends. Let's talk about negative bullshit. All right, as promised, something to get your fucking weekend started, right? We're talking negative bullshit. Seriously, y'all, it feels to me, and Joshi, I think you agree, like the wrestling fandom discourse has hit this whole new level of just toxic, horrible shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm an AEW fan. You're an AEW fan. We have a lot of friends who are AEW fans, and it is hard to be an AEW fan online these days. Okay. I thought it was bad before, but it has really hit a new level. But this is not just a wrestling rant. This is about all fandoms. It seems like anime, sports, gaming. Oh my God, gaming. Ugh.
So toxic.
Yeah. Like I'm talking about the PS5, but I don't want to go online and engage with people about it. Like, fuck that.
Don't. Heck no. Stay away.
Fuck that. Marvel, like any of that stuff. Like, no. And just like online communication in general has gotten so poopy, you know? It's just like, I think a lot of people think the idea of social media is to vent or just kind of vomit their dislike of things that they claim to love. And wrestling is a good example of this, right? My opinion is picking shit apart constantly and hyper fixating on every detail of a TV show, a wrestling match, a wrestling show, obsessing about every tiny minute of every segment. I'm just going to break some news here. This is a fucking exclusive. Okay. It does not make you an expert. And it doesn't mean your opinion is any more or less valid as a fan. I think what it means is you have an unhealthy obsession, and you think that by fanatically evaluating every second of Dynamite, you somehow have some kind of insight. You don't. And guys, honestly, it's just exhausting. Like, I'm on socials less now than I've ever been. And I have to say, my life is honestly much better off for it. Would you say the same, Joshi? I don't see you on socials as much.
No. I mean, I've been busy with stuff outside of professional wrestling, but it's not just that. I've had less and less of a desire to go on social media just because now I'll focus on things that I enjoy doing. And it's not that I don't enjoy chatting with our fellow friends on Threads. I do. It's just that there's just too much negativity in professional wrestling. And I'm someone with anxiety. So when I see too much negativity, my anxiety gets quite bad. So it's also just for my mental health. Like for me, I love AEW. I've been watching it since day one. And yeah, sure, there are things that we can criticize and certain things that can improve. But right now, it's just gotten to a level that's extremely excessive and toxic. And it makes me just want to watch the AEW shows and not know anything about what's going on online anymore. It's just too much for me. It was one thing when it was Cornette. We know that guy is, a dinosaur that shouldn't be watching professional wrestling anymore. And then Bischoff has this weird hate for AEW ever since Tony made some comments about WCW. So that wasn't surprising.
Well, he realized he could make more money hating on AEW than by being working with AEW. Right.
Yes, exactly. But now to see Wrestling Observer also doing that is so disappointing. I used to enjoy listening to those guys, Dave, Alvarez, etc. And now I personally dislike them. Dave, I wouldn't say Dave as much as the others. He is a little bit more negative, but I don't think he's as bad as Alvarez, for example. But my goodness, Alvarez, I can't listen to him anymore. He just fixates on the stuff that he hates and makes it seem like everything about AEW is bad. I can't. It's like, why can't you comment on any of the good things that are happening right now? Like Kyle Fletcher, his growth has been such an amazing thing to see. You've got Mariah May, was an excellent wrestler. I mean, there are very positive things, but all these guys do is focus on the negatives.
Well, and that's what I was going to get to, is what I call the pro wrestling news industrial complex, which is also the SEO industrial complex. The litany of like negative commentary that plugs up my YouTube suggestions is astonishing. Okay. It's all just so negative. I'm sick of people aggregating the Wrestling Observer and Fightful and then acting like they did something, like they didn't do shit. Okay. Like the Wrestling Observer and Fightful did. And just like you said, I'm actually sick of the Wrestling Observer, which for me, for decades has been the gold standard of wrestling reporting. Now, it was always going to happen that AEW's like the honeymoon was going to end, right? Like it's not new to have an alternative to WWE on a big stage anymore. Okay. So there's a lot that people have started to take for granted, probably more so than I do. Okay. But guys, wrestling for me, and I think for every single one of us at some point, it starts as an escape, okay? It's a place to enjoy a little morality struggle. It's a place to find solace away from the real world, in a real world that is growing increasingly uncertain and dark, okay? And I say all that to simply remind you that this podcast is intended for that purpose. We want to know what you love, what makes you such a passionate fan. We want to know what inspires you in the ring, who inspires you in the ring and out of it. We're sharing those same things because wrestling brings us so much joy when we just stick to ourselves and the few, the good friends that we have who we trust to enjoy it with us, right? Like, wrestling brings me a lot of joy naturally, okay? It's when I go and start reading all these crazy fucking takes like Dynamite was a fucking piece of shit show because somebody didn't like a 30-second segment, or Chris Jericho was on the screen for 1 minute and it ruined Dynamite for somebody. Like, guys, that's insane. That is insane. Okay? And I would say that people like Brian Alvarez, who literally do report on wrestling every day of the week, they've completely lost perspective. They think that they talk like they know what it takes to bring viewers in and take viewers out. There was this whole stupid discussion about Toni Storm wrestling on Rampage. And why would you have her wrestle her first match back on Rampage? Listen, she was gone for 3 months, not a year, okay? She was gone for 3 months, okay? They're clearly doing something with her gimmick, which we're going to talk about at the end of the show today. Are less people going to watch Dynamite next week because Toni Storm wrestled on Rampage? No. Are less people going to order World's End because Toni Storm wrestled on Rampage? No. What the fuck are we talking about? Calm down.
Look, I agree that it was a weird decision. When I saw that she was going to wrestle on Rampage, I thought, a return match on Rampage. That's kind of weird. But it doesn't mean that people aren't going to tune in to watch her anymore just because she wrestled on Rampage. And obviously, they have other stories going on right now, so they didn't want to make her the focal point right away. She will be, because she is probably the most important female wrestler in that company. So it's like, just give it time. She just came back. She was on Dynamite. It's not like she wasn't there. She was, and then she wrestled on Rampage. I get it. You want to see her return match on Dynamite or on a pay-per-view. Maybe she will wrestle at World's End. We don't
already
know.
made her return. It was on
Exactly.
Dynamite.
It's not the biggest deal, but that's the thing. Alvarez just decided to spend so much time talking about that part of the show and claiming that a lot of people in AEW were appalled. Dude, calm down. Seriously? I doubt that a bunch of people were that furious over her return match. It's just that it's become trendy to hate on AEW.
Well, and on Tony Khan more specifically, I think. Going back to Brian Alvarez, what he's scrutinizing is a misunderstanding of Toni Storm's character. Okay?
Yeah, big time.
And I don't want to say it's deliberate. I don't think Brian deliberately is misunderstanding it. I think he's dense. And this guy watches too much wrestling, and she's doing something truly different that he doesn't understand. Toni Storm is not going to stay the way she is right now.
Of course not.
Like, this is building to a crescendo. Okay?
Yes.
Toni Storm has been revealed as a not well person. Okay?
Yeah, she's crazy.
And we love her. Okay? We love her for it. But that's ultimately where it is. But the bigger point, I'm not on social media as much, but what we are is a place to talk about what we love about wrestling generally. Of course, we are going to critique it and criticize it because we spend so much time watching it. But at the end of the day, nothing is that big a fucking deal.
No.
Okay? Like, wrestling is supposed to be an escape. Come on. Let's escape together. Let's have fun together. So I love sharing that with you here on the podcast. I love sharing that privately with friends that I enjoy, I'm not enjoying the discourse online. So if you see me less on Threads or Blue Sky, it's not because I don't enjoy you personally. I just don't need to be blown over by an ocean of wrestling narratives every single day. And having people who you can have fun conversations with about your passions is cool, but algorithms are used increasingly more to separate us, to bait us, and to spread misery and create dissension, okay? The world is far too serious and far too joyless currently to allow our escapes to be ruined for us. Protect your passion. Protect your enjoyment of the things that give you comfort. I guarantee you, no one has the inside scoop on what you enjoy, okay, except you. So leave yourself with your own thoughts if you're finding the wrestling discourse to be too much, because I'm certainly doing more of it, and I think progressively more and more people will as well. I'm hearing it from people more and more. So that's the end for me. Joshi, any final thoughts there?
When somebody puts a narrative out there and it's shared, so many times, and then people just start believing it. It doesn't matter how accurate it is. That's just a narrative that not everybody, but that people are going to go with. Like, oh, AEW is just awful. It's not. That's the thing. I would just say don't listen to these people. Enjoy AEW. AEW is great. The wrestling is still great. It's been around for 5 years. Ticket sales aren't always going to be amazing. Ratings aren't always going to be strong. The product's not always going to be hot, but that's just how wrestling has always worked. Wrestling is very cyclical. So
here's what I would say. I'm a member of a few private Discords, okay? And one night we had a watch along. And we watched Ricky Steamboat versus Stunning Steve Austin from 1994. And it's on WCW Saturday night. There's like 300 people there at most, okay? And a ton of seats are empty, okay? Like, that was where they taped every week. And they had to beg people. Eric Bischoff has talked about this. They had to beg people, winos, and all these people to come in and watch the show just to fill up the crowd, okay? And 2 years later, the NWO started. And WCW was bigger than it's ever been. Nobody knows where the business is going to go next, okay? AEW is definitely not over, guys, right? We are lucky. We have a billionaire owner who's willing to dump a lot of money into it. And now the company is actually going to be quite profitable. So exactly. I guess what I want to close with is one thing. When we watch a simulated sport, okay? It's not actually a real sport. It's not competitive, okay? People try to compete and have the best matches, but everything you're seeing is cooperative, right? Like the guys in the ring are working together to put on a great match, right? And then we have this news, and I say that with the quote fingers, we have this news group that reports on this simulated sport, okay? Except, here's an example. And yeah, I'm picking on Brian Alvarez because he's been really fucking annoying the last...
He's getting on my nerves, man.
6 months. Like, I canceled the Wrestling Observer over this. Like,
good job.
He bores the shit out of me. His opinions are so whack that, like, I just don't care anymore. And I don't care that I'm saying this right now. Like, Brian, take a fucking 6 month hiatus, bro. But Brian says, I don't get why Toni Storm's return match is on Rampage. And he spends forever talking about it. And then he goes and calls up a bunch of people who work for AEW, according to him. So he's already put out his own personal feelings about it publicly. And then he calls a bunch of people to get them to co-sign what he said publicly. And then these people all remain anonymous. That's not journalism. Okay? That's not what journalism is. That would be like calling that science, which is also, science is not having a hypothesis and then getting a bunch of people who agree with you to agree with you publicly and then saying that's the truth, right?
Right, yeah.
It's looking for the truth, whatever the truth may be. So yeah, there may be people who disagree with it, but ultimately, what is the net effect of it? Not very much.
P.S. WWE's hot streak isn't going to last forever.
The business is going to have its ups and downs. It always has. AEW's new. The honeymoon period's over. Some people who are diehard fans aren't diehard fans anymore. Some people feel burned and for one reason or another. That's going to happen. And new fans will come in, and then some will leave, and more will come in. That's the way this works. TNA, still in business.
Exactly. Thank you.
Chill the fuck out. Okay.
Yes.
So now that we've talked about what we don't like, let's talk about what we do like, shall we?
Yes, let's go.
All right, so Joshi, first things first, let's talk about World's End. It's a pay-per-view. It's coming up December 28th in Orlando, Florida. AEW right now don't really know what's going to happen at this show yet, but the things that have been announced is the main event was finally announced on Dynamite this week, is Jay White versus Hangman Page versus Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley in a fatal four-way match. I will say it doesn't feel like time for Mox to drop this title.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be a really good match, and I think something story-wise is going to come out of this match. What do you think?
I think so. I think they're going to do a couple of big things on this show. My guess is something involving Death Riders and probably something involving MJF Cole, but I'll talk about that more.
Yeah, and I think specific to this match, I think something maybe with Orange Cassidy and the Death Riders might happen in this match. Yeah, I have a feeling. It's just a feeling. It's not even based on anything.
You never know with the black pants and black jeans, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think, there may be something that causes an evolution in his character. It's just a hunch. I really don't know.
Yeah.
Then the only other match that's been announced is Adam Cole versus MJF. Adam Cole beat Kyle O'Reilly this week. We'll talk a little more about that later. But that's a match that, they've been building up to. The story on this one is a little confounding to me. I'm not as excited for it as I feel like I should be. But we'll see where it goes. But there's lots of blank canvas right now. If they want people to buy this show, they really do need to start rolling some stuff out,
Oh, yeah.
This is feeling a little Wrestle Dreamy, where it's like, the show is in 2 weeks. So let's start getting some stuff on the board. I do think World's End is probably traditionally going to be a lower purchase show than other pay-per-views just because of the time of it, but we'll see. However, I felt like this last week of AEW shows was absolutely fantastic. From Dynamite to Dynamite, every show was very good. Last week's Dynamite, we talked about in great detail. Very good show. Rampage then had 3 Continental Classic matches that were all very good, plus the Vendetta wrestling in a tag match. Very good. And then Collision was also great. Actually, Collision might have been the best show of the week. I would say they're doing a really good job. Having Moxley, for one, on both shows has added some stability to the storytelling. For a long time, it really felt like Collision was its own universe that FTR lived in and, Hobbs lived in, and certain people were just always there. And they weren't in House of Black, and they weren't on Dynamite, and that's changed recently, and I think that's made AEW feel more holistic.
Yeah.
The C2 matches in this last week really upped the ante for me. The first week was good, but I felt like it was kind of not a letdown, but like maybe just kind of a cold start to the C2. Not that the matches were bad. They just didn't feel like necessarily like top tier, Right. AEW may be struggling in the ratings I've seen. Again, some of the dipshits online in that pro wrestling media echo sphere talk about the C2's bombing this year in the ratings or whatever. AEW may be struggling in the ratings. People are going to nitpick to try and explain that, but the product has, in my opinion, as someone who watches AEW with the intention to enjoy it, been very good. On Collision, we had 2 major C2 upsets. Kyle Fletcher, via dick kick, beat Kazuchika Okada. A guy who's been in AEW for almost a year and has only lost to Bryan Danielson took a loss to Kyle fucking Fletcher. This was the big oh shit moment from Collision. I mean, it blew my mind. Like, I was, live chatting with a few people, and everybody was like, the minute he got the 3 count, everybody's like, holy shit. They just had Kyle Fletcher beat Kazu. Like, unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's a huge win. He beat Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada in like 2 weeks' time.
Fletcher's killing it right now.
How do you put somebody over any bigger, right?
Yeah.
And then in the main event of Collision, Mark Briscoe cleanly beat Daniel Garcia. It's not as big of an upset, I would say, but Garcia is the TNT champion. I'm so happy because Briscoe lost his first 2 matches. I'm so happy to see that he is not being just slotted into the same role he had last year as a pin eater. Very, very good stuff. And great match. And, 2 baby faces, they went hard at each other. It was really, really good. I would say overall, so far, the Continental Classic is kicking ass as just as a fan, just consuming it. Super, super good. It's been a great tournament so far. The match quality has been very good end to end. And even the pin eaters, who so far have been, unfortunately, the Dark Daddy, Beast Mordos, and Commander.
Yes.
Everyone has looked great, even in taking the losses. So currently, you get Claudio, Ricochet, and Ospreay tied on top of the Gold League with 6 points. And then you have Kyle Fletcher dominating the Blue League with 9 points. Now, it should be said that Darby Allin and Will Ospreay in the Gold League have wrestled 1 less match than everybody else. They're going to have to make that up at some point. Claudio took a loss on Dynamite, finally. Ricochet took an early loss in this. So Ospreay has a chance still to come out on top of the Gold League, which I strongly suspect he will. But yeah, Kyle Fletcher's dominating the Blue League with 9 points. And Garcia and Okada are the closest to him, and they only have 4 each. Damn. Wild.
It is, yeah.
And here's the thing. Like, if you go by G1 booking, and Joshi, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You go by G1 booking, this is like very similar. The year that John Moxley did the G1, he was undefeated for like his first 5 matches or 4 matches, and he didn't even make the finals. So Fletcher, it's no guarantee that he's going to win the tournament because he has 9 points right now.
No.
Okay. So Mark Briscoe could come from behind, and like Eddie Kingston did last year. Eddie lost his first 2 matches as well, and then he came from behind and he won the whole thing. So who knows? Who knows where this is going? But Kyle Fletcher looking very strong, and just already, this guy's future is looking very bright with a win, non-tournament win over Ospreay. He beat Shelton Benjamin, and he beat Kazuchika Okada. Insane.
It is. Actually, Eddie related question. Is he expected to return soonish, or he's been gone a while,
He's
right?
posting some promos on Instagram, I believe. And it sure sounds like a guy who's coming back soon. He did break his leg.
Yeah.
So I expect him back soon. Also would say Moxley's verbiage in the Death Rider sounds very similar to the way Eddie Kingston usually talks about big egos and all that stuff. That's kind of similar to Eddie Kingston.
Oh, man, I miss Eddie. I really do.
Me too. So this is going to be interesting, though. We were just talking about World's End. It's going to be interesting because the winner of the Gold League will face the runner-up of the Blue League at World's End. And then the Blue League winner will face the runner-up from the Gold League at World's End. And then the winners of those 2 matches will also face each other that same night. So there's kind of a mini tournament the night of World's End, which is kind of cool, right? Like,
yeah,
you have this tournament leading up to it, the round robin part of it, and then you get a semifinal and the final the same night. That gives that winner kind of that Iron Man vibe, right? And I like that. I like that personally. How do you feel about it?
I love it. I loved this tournament so much last year.
Yeah, me too.
I'm really glad that they brought it back. And like especially on this week's Dynamite, I don't know. I was so into those matches, man. They were so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I'm a big fan of tournaments, though. Like, I love that NJPW has, like, they have how many a year? Like, 4?
Mm-hmm.
Works for me because I like the upsets. I like the surprises.
They have the New Japan Cup in February every year.
Yeah.
They have the G1.
Yeah.
They have the juniors, and they have the World Tag League. Yeah.
Yeah, 4. So it works for me.
Yeah, and people will say this is a confusing tournament or it's boring or whatever.
Boring.
They don't understand round robin tournaments, okay?
Yeah.
Wake up call. And this would actually apply to AEW a little more broadly than just this tournament, but let's just talk about the tournament. This is how wrestling tournaments are primarily done everywhere except in WWE, okay? So King of the Ring was a single elimination tournament. And if that's what you prefer, that's great. Fine. They have Queen of the Ring, King of the Ring, whatever you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not my style, okay? I like that people are accruing points and the people with the most points are the winners. That's the style I prefer.
Me too.
You can like whatever you want, but I don't find this boring whatsoever. All it takes is really just paying a little bit of attention and getting the hang of how it works. And then I think you could tell so much better stories in a round robin tournament than you can in a single elimination tournament. But that's just me. That's just me.
Yeah, but you see, the thing about the Continental Classic, just as an example, I like the fact that it's the presentation is very sports based. It reminds me of soccer. So like I tend to watch the Euro Cup and the World Cup where you have different groups, and you have and so there's teams on in a group, and you have to play against each other, and they go according to points as well. 3 points if you beat the team, 1 point if it's a draw, 0 points if you lose, and whoever has the most points in that group ends up playing against the group that has the most points in another group or whatever. Right. So to me, it's so sports based that you would think people would understand it and love it, especially because it does happen in sports, like especially soccer. So
Sandong making himself heard. I would also say I think that this is where Americans are very naive about how these things work. This doesn't feel like the playoffs that they recognize. The playoffs in football, like quarterback football, tackling football. It's single elimination in the playoffs. In baseball, it's not single elimination, but it's still just confined to a certain small group who makes the playoffs. So I just think Americans aren't conditioned to round robin tournaments, and some people aren't willing to learn. But I assure you, AEW is actually performing a lot like every other wrestling company worldwide.
Yeah.
Except WWE. So that's what you're comparing it to. So anyway, moving on from that, Joshi, let's talk about something that was just pure fun.
Let's do it.
Bandito and his vignettes. God. They did another one this week, and the people last week, I raved about this, and so did you.
Yes.
And this week, it was even better. Because I was like, where are they going with this, right? Like, is it just that they're posting up signs and then he shows up on the show, right?
Right.
Didn't think that these guys who were posting up the signs were actually the people who were going to try and fight Bandito. These guys with pretty bad Southern accents, pretty unconvincing, are confronted by Bandito, who shows up looking dope as hell, okay? In this all black getup on a horse. And they say, Bandito.
Bandito.
You're wanted, and, you better not put up a fight or we're going to kick your butt. And Bandito says no words at all, right? He just does this cool move to get off his horse. And they actually film a legit action sequence with Bandito. It's so campy pro wrestling. Like, if you showed this to a normal person, they would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is stupid as hell. Okay. And that's why I love it, right? It's so pro wrestling. It honestly is the most WWE thing that I've seen in AEW this year, and I love it. Because it's like 1987 WWE, or even like world class, like from back in the day. Like, people don't know wrestling history, but like world class actually was the master of these kind of vignettes before WWF was. And we talked about a while back about how they needed to do more stylized vignettes for people, and that would kind of build a connection to the character a little more, and how they had only really done it with the scary characters, like, you know, with the House of Black and Julia Hart and, you know, a few others, but they needed to expand beyond that. And that's what this has been. This makes Bandito feel like a bigger deal. So when he comes back, it's going to feel like a bigger deal. Don't you agree, Joshi?
Oh my God, of course. You know,
I just Brian Alvarez to you right there. I just said, this is my opinion publicly, and then tried to get you to agree with me.
I disagree with you. Don't force me.
What?
The thing about it is, when I used to watch Lucha Underground, I used to like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had like these little like campy vignettes, and they're fighting like Mortal Kombat characters. I like that stuff. So it feels similar to that, but also I'm a huge spaghetti western fan.
Me too.
So, you know, to see Bandito on a horse, he's the most wanted. It just works, you know. I've always pictured him in this type of role in AEW, and I'm really happy that they're going along with it. It's so fun, and yeah, I think that when he does come back, whether it's like, you know, he comes back on Dynamite or Collision, I think the fans are gonna respond really well, because not only is he such an amazing athlete, but now he's found this gimmick that I think most people will enjoy. Come on, what's there not to like?
He has a style that is unlike any other luchador, in that he does all these crazy feats of strength, you know, and he reminds me of Hechicero, because there's nobody else like Hechicero, and there's nobody else like Bandito.
True.
And he also has one of the coolest lucha masks in the history of Lucha Libre, period. It rules.
It rules. I missed him so much, dude.
He's one of my favorite wrestlers, period, in the world.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
And so having him back and knowing that Tony is like behind him as like a real star and doing what it takes to make Bandito look like a big deal, that is as exciting as anything else that's happening in AEW for me personally, because I am a massive Bandito mark.
I do have a quick question for you, iBlade.
Yeah.
If Hangman Page were to turn babyface eventually, or even if he would be like a tweener, what would you think of spaghetti western type of faction with Hangman, Bandito, and someone else? I'm blanking on who I would put now, but I think
talked about
be fun.
it. We talked about it a while ago. It was Bandito, Hangman, and Brian Keith before he was in the Learning Tree.
Yes, that's
Liberate Brian Keith from the Learning Tree, and you've got your group right there. I think it would be awesome, and I think they could all be kind of tweeners. Bandito really, I think Bandito is very likely. I mean, I don't want to speak out of pocket here, like, but I think he has the most like massive babyface potential.
Yeah.
Besides maybe like Penta. But Bandito's much younger than Penta. And I think he could be a massive babyface and maybe even a world champion someday. If you do it right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
In the same line of thinking of fun, Christian Cage had been watching on from ringside earlier in the night to kind of show that he still had a very solid interest in what was going on with the world champion, Jon Moxley, and watched John and Pac wrestle Jay White and Orange Cassidy, which set up that main event being announced. And that's really all we need to say about that. Christian cuts a fucking horrifically awful, mean-spirited promo on Jon Moxley, proving that dead fathers are not the only thing that he is willing to go after. But he said that by the time he was done with Jon Moxley, that Jon would be begging for another drink. That Jon and some people on threads, I wanted to see what people thought about this. You guys know I've been very transparent. I am an alcoholic, okay, and I am a drug addict, and I am sober, and I have been for 10 years, okay. I was not offended by this, okay. Christian Cage, people will say like dead dad jokes are funniest to people who have dead dads, okay. That dead parent jokes are the funniest to people who have lost those people, okay? They'll be the first ones to make those jokes in a lot of instances. I'm not saying that's universal, okay? But I know a lot of people with dead parents, unfortunately, and they are often the first to crack those jokes, okay? I did not feel offended by this. I thought this was hilarious. Christian Cage is meant to be controversial, and I didn't have any problem with it at all. Clearly, Jon Moxley didn't have any problem with it at all. I don't think Christian would have gone there otherwise. They are friends. Jon Moxley's actually the one who recruited Christian to come to AEW. So this was great. But yes, he said, Jon, you're going to be begging for another drink. You're going to tell yourself it's okay, that you deserve it, that you've earned it, because I'm going to leave you in a pile of rubble. And as he's saying that, he turns his back to the door. And in a great bit of framing, who should be peeking through the glass in this door but Hook? Hook, with his arm in a cast, by the way, punches out the glass door and beats the living fuck out of Christian. Like, he really beat his ass good in this. It made Hook look badass in a way that he hasn't really looked this badass in a while. Joshi, what were your thoughts?
I really liked the way they did that. Everything about that was great. Yeah, like Christian Cage watching the match the entire time, and it just made me laugh because just looking at him makes me laugh because he always looks so angry and he does it so perfectly. By the way, where did Mama Wayne, Nick Wayne, and
I'm not sure. So
did we find out?
It kind of looked like Christian was sending them to go fuck with Moxley when he did it. And then you realize it was just to get them out of the way so that they could do this whole thing. They come rip-roaring back into the scene and start beating on Hook, who kicks their asses too. And Christian, in the meantime, there was a part, I do want to mention this. I'm sorry, ADHD, but the initial brawl, Hook slides Christian down a table into the wall. It looked like Christian hit that wall hard, head first. Like, that hurt. At minimum, that hurt. I hope Christian was able to protect himself better, but then it looked like he did.
Me too.
But I think we might be setting up Hook Christian at World's End, and I'm stoked for it. Honestly, this did a lot to get me excited about it.
Oh yeah, and as I said, everything with Christian just works for me. I thought what he said about Jon Moxley wanting another drink after he deals with Christian was just so messed up and harsh. But that's Christian.
It's so funny to me because people are like, who's the best heel? Is it Dom Mysterio? Is it MJF? And I'm like, it's Christian Cage.
No, it's Christian Cage.
By a lot.
It's just, yeah.
And I don't watch Dom Mysterio. I don't know how good he is. But I do watch MJF, and I do love MJF as a heel character. But Christian Cage is teaching the world what a real heel is. He's reminding everybody how to be a real heel right now.
And it's not just that. Like, another thing about Christian Cage is that he's not long-winded.
No.
So you're not going to hear him talk for 20 minutes. That's not going to happen. Even if he talks for 5 minutes, it's enough for him to make his point and to offend somebody. That's what I love about Christian Cage. Everything, because he is so, he doesn't go on and on about his opponent. He just says something that's so infuriating and shocking, and it works,
and cutting, cutting. Yeah,
exactly. And and I liked Hook showing up the way he did. It was really clever. The fans were into it as well. So It looks like they'll wrestle each other at World's End, and honestly, I'm liking this feud. I think it's great. I
Maybe
hope
that's how
that
Copeland returns.
I'm thinking, yeah, Copeland and maybe Taz as well. Maybe both of them. I
Could
think
be.
that would be really nice. Yeah, if
Could be.
he beats, like, I don't know, let's say Hook beats Christian Cage. You have Taz come out and he just kicks the crap out of Christian,
Mhm.
and then you have Copeland come out. I mean, I think that would be really neat. So
All of
we'll
that
see.
would be
But
great.
I'm enjoying it. I like everything with Christian though, and yeah, I think this is the best version of Hook that we've seen in a while. Like he's a lot more interesting, and he's got a little bit more personality. He was very one dimensional at first, which worked for a while, but of course, eventually you need more than just being a badass. You need
Yep.
there's more to character growth than that. But yeah, I feel lately Hook has been a lot better in terms of his personality and charisma. So
Yeah, what I like about Hook now is he had to take kind of almost a step back in order to go 2 steps forward, because he had to start talking, which isn't natural for him. And he had to develop his actual character instead of just being this silent guy who's like kind of handsome that people freak out about. That was only going to last so long. And they've done the hard work with Hook of advancing him, getting him to get more comfortable doing promos, in-ring promos, backstage promos, all these promos. He's doing a great job and he's getting better. And this made him feel like the old Hook merged with that new Hook. And I like it. I like it a lot. Claudio and Will Ospreay wrestled in a C2 match. This was just a great fucking match.
oh yeah.
It started full tilt and it never slowed down. They just did a probably, I would guess, a 13 to 15 minute match. And they just went balls to the wall. Will Ospreay is the best wrestler in the world currently. From an in-ring perspective, there is nobody better, and you can't prove otherwise. Will ends up winning with kind of this roll-up, pins Claudio. Claudio not happy, and is going to attack Will just the same way he was going to attack Darby after Brody beat Darby and Brody made the save. He was going to attack Will, and Darby made the save because Darby is facing Will next week for the Christmas episode. Stoked. I love it.
Me too.
This was a great match. Great ending. You say Claudio Castagnoli and Will Ospreay, you know it's going to be great, right?
Yeah.
But this match really did deliver. It really hit a lot of gears. It's impossible to describe it any more than that, really, and have it convey. Just watch the match if you didn't see it. It's a must watch, I would say.
I'm with you. Must see match, and I'm really curious about Ospreay Darby next week. Is it going to end in a draw? Maybe they get 1 point
I don't
each.
know, man.
I could see that happening. Does Darby get the upset? I don't know, but
yes,
I am excited. I am very
Yes.
excited to see them face each other. So
I think there's a real possibility Darby gets an upset in this one.
I think so too.
Will, he's such a goof. He would just do it. I mean, Will, he's kind of like the elite sometimes, where it's like, dude, you do have to win. You have to win. Like,
Will, you listening?
yeah, and it's okay. It's okay. Like, I don't think Will's lost too much or anything, but
No.
he doesn't lose that much. He's like, his winning percentage is probably like 90 something percent, but it's been an interesting tournament and they're going to try and keep it interesting. I don't think they're hot-shotting anything, and that's the most important thing. Fletcher could lose every match he has for the rest of the tournament, and he's still gotten over because he beat Shelton Benjamin. He beat Kazuchika Okada. He beat huge names, okay? He can ride that forever. He could lose every other match he has. I don't think he will, but he's already gotten a ton out of this. I think Darby and will figure out how to do that too. There was this kind of interesting promo with Ricochet with Renee Paquette, who, by the way, was wearing a stunning outfit, kind of this suit. She had a tie on.
She looks so nice.
My God, Renee Paquette. Gee, good Lord, woman.
Moxley's lucky.
I mean, but just what a style icon she is. Like,
She's
she always
so
just
stylish.
has such a
Yeah.
cool vibe. Like,
She's so
goddamn, Renee
stylish.
Paquette.
She's so nice. She's nice. She's cool. She's like the one. Like I'll say this quickly because I don't want to take up too much time. But I feel like Renee Paquette is that girl that most guys want to date.
I think so. Yeah, she's just cool as hell. She's obviously beautiful, like that.
Yeah,
of course. But like, it's more than that. It's like she's just cool. She's just laid back.
So cool.
Yeah. Just chill. Like Renee is cool
and a
as
good
fuck.
person.
Yeah,
That's
she's
the most important thing. She is a really good person.
We talked a while ago about like who are the most effortlessly cool wrestlers, and Mox was one of our picks.
Yeah,
Renee fits right. They fit right in together. They are effortlessly cool together. And anyway, so she's interviewing Ricochet, who seems kind of like a little unnatural, a little like gassed up by something. And he says, haha, I'm like doing really good in this tournament, and I'm about to pick up some wins. And then he pulls out the card that we know he's had for a long time. Okay. And it says MVP on that card. And then he kind of like, he's like, yeah, I'm about to show everybody. Ha ha. And then he like leaves. It feels very unnatural. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think Ricochet is doing something subtle here that somebody like Brian Alvarez would never understand. Okay. I'm sorry, Brian. This is on you for the rest of this episode.
Not this coming, Brian.
I'm not doing this forever because I have respected you at other times. But Brian,
but you're annoying now. Yeah.
You're really annoying right now, and you don't get it. You just don't get it. So Brian definitely didn't get this, but I think Ricochet is doing something subtle here where he's kind of revealing that he's feeling insecure and he's trying to like get his ego up to prove that he fits maybe in the Hurt Syndicate. That's what I think he's doing. Heel turn seems like it's incoming with Ricochet.
Exact same impression as you. He's totally joining the Hurt Syndicate. I got total heel vibes.
Yeah. He's trying to fake gas himself up a little bit, Yeah,
it just like something, he was off. Like something about the way he spoke was off. I was just like, this guy's acting freaking weird.
Yeah.
And I think, and obviously that was intentional. So he's going to join. Yeah.
No, like he did this like almost like fake brotherish kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that he clearly maybe feels like he has to do to be a part of the Hurt Syndicate, which they don't do to themselves. It's very interesting.
It was, we'll see.
It's very interesting.
We'll see. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see where it goes. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly had a match that was good. It was a very solid match. I think Adam is still definitely getting back to 100% ring shape right now.
Oh, yeah.
But he did a very competent job in this match. He did look jaundiced as fuck. The spray tan, I don't know what Adam Cole's doing with the spray tan, but it is.
I have a theory.
It is a crime, whatever it is. Stop drinking, Adam.
I have a theory, though.
Theorize.
Okay, you know how MJF overdoes it with the spray tan?
Mm-hmm.
Is this deliberate?
You and I have talked about this offline, okay? We have
I know, but I'm just saying. All of a sudden, he's looking more orange than, naturally tan like MJF. I don't know. Like, is this deliberate?
I've seen some people say that maybe they changed something they're doing with the lights that's showing it differently. But I'm like, then everybody would be affected by it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, I would say at least 80% of wrestlers spray tan now because going to a tanning bed is not good for you.
Yeah.
So I would say there's something to what you're positing. I think this match at World's End, I just happened to notice that MJF was on the Shop AEW website. They were selling a Better Than You Bebe limited edition shirt. And I noticed as a wrestling figure collector, they announced the Better Than You Bebe figure set is coming out in April. Now,
see?
Well, hold on. Jazzwares takes forever to make everything. So
that's
not necessarily an indicator. They still haven't made a Dax Harwood with the mustache yet. Okay. So they do take too long to make certain things, but I just found it interesting. I think Better Than You Bebe might be due for a reunion as heels. And honestly, I think they'd be great if they went that direction. Cole and Kyle O'Reilly are having a good match. And MJF shows up. He wants to interfere. It doesn't go as he planned, but it creates a distraction that allows Adam Cole to kind of win. Adam wanted to shake Kyle O'Reilly's hand, and O'Reilly wasn't interested. They've never really explained why Kyle O'Reilly's kind of mad at Adam, other than maybe he thinks he's seeing through Adam, you know, the narcissism and kind of the ego of Adam. And so I'm curious where this is going to take them. The story's been a bit confounding, but I don't think there was any way for it not to be. Tony Khan doesn't just leave things to die in the forest. You know, when Brett Michaud was on a few weeks ago, Brett was like, just let it die. Let it go. And honestly, it's hard to disagree with that, but Tony doesn't do that. Okay. And so he's trying to salvage this somehow. And I think it's going to end up with both of them being heel dickhead friends. And honestly, go for it, you know?
Blade, a few comments. First off, how freaking nice was it seeing MJF at the arena?
If he got a big pop when he walked out too.
Of course, we want to see MJF regularly. I do understand he was filming a movie and all that, but oh my gosh, it was so nice to see him there, and he's going to be there next week. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
The second thing is, I agree with you. The story is a little bit odd. We don't understand why Kyle O'Reilly is so angry with Adam Cole. As you said, maybe it's because he thinks that Cole's a narcissist and considers the stuff that he did to MJF cruel and his justifications are invalid. I don't know. But I can see this going two ways. Either Adam Cole and MJF get together again, which I think would probably be great because they were so over as
they were
like a team last year, so why not do it again, but this time they're heels. Or I see Kyle O'Reilly turning on Adam Cole and becoming heel. Roderick and Bennett and Taven, them turning on Adam Cole, but I would prefer Cole turning heel and being reunited with MJF.
Let's look at this slightly differently, okay? It's an easy question. Just like the C2 is an easy thing to try and predict. Just who do you want to see in the finals of the C2, right? That's how you book it. And then you book the tournament around that. So, like, to me, I'm like Ospreay Okada. That's what I think the finals is going to be, okay? Is there room for another top babyface in AEW right now? That's the question you need to ask yourself, right? Answer is probably no. Okay. You got Kenny coming back. You've got
Swerve.
You've got Swerve.
Ospreay.
You've got Ospreay. You've got possibly. You've got Jay White. You've got Orange Cassidy. You've got possibly Darby. You've got. So the answer is no. Okay.
Hangman Page, possibly.
Hangman Page is definitely going to end up being a tweener, stone cold babyface. Okay.
Yeah.
Him and Swerve are both going to do that. All right. That's the net effect of their story together. Okay. So what I have to say to all of that is, at the end of the day, Adam Cole cannot be the top babyface in AEW. Okay.
Not right now. No.
There's no room for it. And Jay White being a babyface now kind of is the nail in the coffin. Okay. Like, turn him heel. Turn him heel. He's not going to be the world champion anytime soon anyway. I think that was the original plan, was for him to beat MJF, and then that became impossible.
Yeah.
So they can become the shared devil dickheads and have a good time with it, you know?
The fans loved it last year. So
the fans loved it. They main evented. I mean, look, you know, no matter how much you did or didn't like those vignettes and stuff, they main evented the highest paid attendance of all time against each other. So they're stars. Put them together, have them rub off on each other. Then neither one of them needs the belt. You just go for it, you know? So that's where I think this is going. And then you have a mountain to climb for somebody like Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and Kyle O'Reilly, who are left in the aftermath of that. And I think it finally gives Kyle O'Reilly something to do on his own without the conglomeration as much. And Kyle's fucking great. And he's still a very young guy, too. So, like, you know, Kyle's 36, maybe. Like, Cole's 36. Like, they're both young. So, you know, I could see bigger things going on for Kyle O'Reilly in the future. So, now, we had Brody King versus Ricochet. Very good match. Brody beat the living shit out of Ricochet this entire match. Ricochet was screaming like a little girl at various times throughout this match. I think, again, foreshadowing a heel turn. Ricochet starts to mount a bit of a comeback, but it's always just knocked down by Brody. They're doing the classic big man, little man kind of thing. And then one of the turnbuckles gets exposed. And Ricochet kind of has that moment of truth where he's like, do I do this or not? And he does it. He does it more than once. And Brody gets knocked the fuck out. Ricochet then uses, I can't remember what he calls that. It's like the inverted hidden blade. Whatever. The public blade is what I'm going to call it right now. Because it's not hidden. And the spirit gun, is that what it's called?
I think so.
Something like that.
That rings a bell. The spirit gun. Yeah,
I could be wrong, but he hits Brody with that and pins him. And very good match. Very much worth seeing. Check it out. But Ricochet, I'm excited to see where Ricochet goes from here. He does have a match with Will Ospreay one-on-one, guaranteed, because they are both in the Gold League. So I am very excited for that match. We'll see where it goes.
Me too.
And finally, you know, there were some other things on Dynamite, but we wanted to talk about some other stuff, so we're just going through the highlights.
Yeah.
But the biggest highlight of this show, aside from maybe that Bandito vignette for me, was the main event. Mariah May versus Mina Shirakawa main evented. This was a great match. This went live. The match, I think the bell rang with 5 minutes to go in the regular show. Some people were kind of freaking out that I was talking to that they were only going to get maybe 5 minutes. I think they got 12 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, around that.
They had a really good match. Mina looked more crisp than I've ever seen her in AEW. Clearly, they like working together a lot. Mariah gave her a lot in the match to really put her over. My only complaint about this match at all was that the ending was very abrupt. Like, Mariah kind of hits her with a storm driver out of nowhere and pins her. And we all kind of had a suspicion what was going to happen at the end of this match. And it was correct, but it wasn't correct the way we thought. Toni Storm's old music, the pre-Timeless Toni Storm music hits, pre-Outcast music Toni Storm music hits, and Toni walks out dressed in the Nikki Sixx eye thing with the red and black leather that Mariah had been coming out to. And she looks very overwhelmed by the crowd reception to her. The crowd's going nuts. Mariah's looking on. We go off the air. I saw a bunch of people saying, you know, I had a feeling Toni might come back without being timeless. Guys, really? Really? You think this woman did all that work to just forget about it? Okay? This is a story. Toni's going to take you places, okay? That's why Toni's wrestling on Rampage. I heard a little rumor she might be wrestling on Collision too. Toni needs to tell his story to get back to being timeless, okay? Because that's the gimmick that made her a star, all right? She's doing this weird hybrid of Mick Foley and Bray Wyatt, okay? But instead of like a lantern, she's using tits. Instead of using a fiend mask, she's using shoes. Okay, but she's going to end up being timeless again, okay? Because timeless was revealed to be this eternal spirit that inhabited Toni Storm, okay? She said that all of that herself a year ago. Joshi, your thoughts?
Okay, so a few things. First off, I thought it was a really great main event. Mina
they lived up to
really,
it.
really, really, really good. Only thing I would say, well, two things. I do agree that the ending was a little bit abrupt. Secondly, I want them to have a rematch.
Yes.
And I want them to be given more time. I think it should be on a pay-per-view. The fans like Mina. It doesn't matter that she's not signed to AEW. The fans react to her every time she's on Dynamite. So I would say give them a rematch at some point on a pay-per-view for sure. I did find Thunder Rosa with her signs very funny.
That was very amusing, and we didn't mention that. She was at ringside with these signs kind of taunting Mariah May because it seems like Thunder Rosa is going to be the next step for Mariah May.
Yeah, so exactly. I think that Thunder Rosa will be her next opponent. And
at World's End, probably. Yeah.
Maybe, probably at World's End. And then after that, it's going to be Toni Storm in Australia.
Wonder who will win that.
Yeah. So, as for Toni coming back in her OG gear, so when she came out at first, I thought, she's not timeless. But I wasn't angry. I wasn't telling myself this is the end of timeless Toni Storm. Of course not. What we've realized, I'd say the past year, is that Toni Storm is a nut. She's not all there in the head. Okay?
Right.
So my theory is that this is going to become like a multiple personality type of gimmick. Similarly to the Three Faces of Foley, which I loved. Right. She's going to bounce back and forth. There might even be new characters that she comes up with. Who the heck knows? The thing about it, though, is I will say this. If you guys loved what Toni Storm did with the timeless Toni gimmick, you should trust in whatever she does moving forward. And there is no way that they are going to kill off the gimmick that turned her into a megastar. Not happening. Like, come on.
No. It's, you don't light money on fire, okay? Like, you just don't do that, okay? Like, I don't think wrestling fans think about that very often. Like, one of the things that maybe I'm wrong about, I said there's going to be a character shift in Orange Cassidy is the money that character makes, okay? And until you have other people who can sell the merch he sells and appeal to kids the way he does, it's kind of hard to turn him heel. Right? So those are real considerations. But when you have a gimmick that somebody has gotten over so much, that between Toni and RJ City, that they made into this fucking incredible experience, like, you don't just get rid of that. Okay?
No.
So I think Toni is going to have this multiple personality thing going on. And I trust her as a performer to deliver. And this is how you keep Timeless as a very interesting character. Okay? And she's going to be a babyface, and she's going to evolve. I think Timeless will evolve. But it may take till like mid-January before she's Timeless again, or maybe early February, because that Australia show isn't till late February. So they've got to get to Mariah May and Timeless Toni Storm. And they're not going to do that by having her come back as Timeless and just have a match. Like that's not good storytelling.
Yeah. She was clearly upset that as Timeless Toni Storm, she lost the AEW Women's title. She lost in Stardom. If I'm not mistaken, she lost in CMLL. So she, and she even uploaded a video on Instagram where she's pretty much burying that gimmick because to her, what's the point of going on as Timeless Toni Storm? I keep losing. So, but that doesn't mean that that's it. Toni's done. Right now, she doesn't even know who the heck she is.
Right. So
we're going to see back and forth. Toni, we'll see OG Toni, we'll see Timeless Toni, we'll see whoever, you know, whatever other version of Toni. But the thing is that it's not like they chose a woman that can't pull that kind of stuff off. Toni can. So it's like, calm down. Yeah. See where this goes. Timeless Toni Storm will be back. I can guarantee this.
Oh, yeah. You know who else is going to be back? Us. Next week. That's right. For you, the people. We're bringing our passion. We're bringing our joy. We want you to preserve your passion, preserve your joy. Don't get caught up in all this silly razzmatazz discourse that's really just going to bum you out, you know? You know what you like. Just like it, baby. Find people who like it too, because there's plenty of us out there. But
we exist.
We exist, and we'll continue to exist, probably. Until next week, I'm Blade Daily.
I'm Joshi G. Lighten up, Alvarez.
Pro wrestling forever. Get the hell out of here, Jack Parrott!